Before the college entrance exam, the class darling, Yi Wanwan, announced she would use a score-stealing system to bind the entire class together. Wah, I'm just not that smart, I'm definitely going to bomb the exam, but you're all different. You're the geniuses who can score in the 600s and 700s. If each of you just gives me 10 points, I can get into the same universities as you. And I'll still be your precious little sweetheart. It's just that the system's activation condition is a bit harsh. It requires unanimous consent from all 30 classmates. The whole idea of transferring exam scores was absurd, yet all my classmates eagerly accepted the system's binding. In my previous life, not wanting my classmates' futures to be ruined, I rejected Yi Wanwan's binding request at the very last moment before the exams. As a result, the entire class got into top-tier universities, but Yi Wanwan, unable to cope with the shock of scoring only 400 points, drowned herself in the sea. My classmates were furious. My twin brother, who blamed me for Yi Wanwan's death, conspired with the others to kidnap and murder me on the very day I became the provincial top scorer. In my final moments, I still saw their contorted faces accusing me. What's the big deal about losing 10 points? You were going to get into a good school anyway. Don't think we don't know. You were afraid that if Wanwan got those points, she'd steal your top scholar title. You're so selfish. Wanwan is dead. You'll pay for her life with yours. After death, I watched as they dismembered my corpse and fed it to stray dogs. I also saw Yi Wanwan run into their arms, crying and saying she shouldn't have been so willful in faking her death, making them worry. They leveraged the fame I had as the top provincial scholar to fabricate a story about me bullying classmates. They cast Yi Wanwan as the victim and propelled her to become a popular blogger with millions of followers. Fortunately, I was reborn. Back to the moment when Yi Wanwan proposed binding the entire class. They didn't know that the system's point exchange ratio was 10 to 1. If they want to give Yi Wanwan a perfect 10, they'll have to pay for it with their own perfect scores. This time, I'm going to ruin their futures for good, with no chance of recovery. Hearing those same words again sent a chill down my spine. Yi Wanwan, the class darling, was holding the class monitor's hand and whining sweetly. Wah, I really can't bear to be apart from you all. If I'm away from you, my entire university life will be miserable. We'll still be in the same class at university. I've learned to dance and sing, so Wanwan will put on a little show every day to cheer everyone up. Okay. Hearing those same words, the water cup in my hand clattered to the floor. Everyone turned to look at me, and my brother Shengzhua's hostility was particularly palpable. It was the exact same look he had in our past life when he kidnapped me and beat me to death, blow by blow. Sis, everyone else agreed. What's the meaning of you smashing that glass? Yi Wanwan's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Sheng Lanwei, I know you've always looked down on me because of my grades, but I'm begging you, okay? I really can't bear to be apart from everyone. This statement moved quite a few people. Someone immediately chimed in. Exactly, Sheng Lanwei. Could you show a little human decency? You and Sheng Zhua are from the same parents. How can you be so cold-hearted? It's just 10 points, isn't it? We're the top student class. 10 points won't affect our chances of getting into a 985 university. What's the big deal about giving them to Wanwan? Sheng Lanwei, stop competing with Wanwan like this. Yi Wanwan adopted an extremely humble posture, coming over to beg me. I know you value grades more than our classmate bond, but to me, grades are just cold, impersonal numbers. The feelings and connections between everyone are what truly matter to me. I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. If I hadn't been reborn once before, I would never have known that the point exchange system she mentioned operated on a 10 to 1 ratio. For every 10 points she wanted, everyone else would have to give up 100. In my past life, I thought the system's scoring was outrageous, so I refused its request to assign grades just before the college entrance exam. While everyone else got their scores and smoothly entered top-tier universities, I met a tragic end because of that decision. Yet, their twisted, gleeful expressions are still vivid in my mind. But this time, a slow smile spread across my face. I agree. I don't just agree. I suggest we each give Wanwan 20 points. Losing 100 points might still get you into a regular university. Well, if they're all so willing, then the whole class can happily go to a vocational college together. 20 points. Isn't 20 points a bit much? That could easily make the difference between Getting into one university or another, Sheng Zhuo walked up to me, squinting slightly. Sheng Lanwei, what's your game? Since when are you so generous as to give 1 points? The wariness and fleeting murderous intent in his eyes sent a chill down my spine. In my past life, although Sheng Zhuo enjoyed fooling around with Yi 1, he at least pretended a little in front of me, only revealing his true colors after the scores came out. When he struck my head with that hammer, I still saw him as my last lifeline. I grabbed his hand, pleading, Sheng Zhuo, I'm your sister, please don't. I tried to appeal to our family bond to make him stop, but he just sneered, sister, precisely because you're my sister, you have to die. Sheng Lanwei, not only are you in Wanwan's way, but you're also blocking me from taking the entire family fortune for myself. Do you understand? I overheard Mom and Dad discussing the inheritance. A girl like you getting the same share as me, you really deserve to die. His blows grew heavier and heavier, and the words stuck in my throat were never spoken. The Sheng family sheltered him too well, so much so that he had no idea he was an adopted orphan, and now, looking at his ruthless gaze and unusual demeanor, I'm certain Sheng Zhuo has been reborn just like me. Speak, don't think I don't know all the schemes you're hiding. Would you really be this kind to Wan? Smack. I grabbed a book and slammed it right onto Sheng Zhuo's head. The whole class fell silent, stunned by the blow. Sheng Zhuo clenched his fists and glared at me. Oh, brother Sheng Zhuo, are you okay? Sheng Lanwei, how could you hit someone? What's wrong with me disciplining my own brother? Sheng Zhuo, you've grown some nerve, talking to me like that. Though he was seething with resentment, for the sake of Yi Wan's grades, he didn't dare to have a full-blown confrontation with me at that moment. So, after shooting him a dirty look, I turned my gaze back to Yi Wan. So, have you thought about the 20 points? I know your scores are only around 200 or 300, and you've only managed to stay in this class by cheating off everyone during exams. Since we want to get into the same university, 20 points is the safer bet. When the time comes, you can just skip 2 exam papers and waltz right into a top-tier 985 school. Although Yi Wan wasn't happy about me calling out her cheating, her eyes still lit up with interest after hearing my plan. What a brilliant idea, Lan Wei, you're really agreeing to this, right? I nodded emphatically. Absolutely. Sheng Lanwei immediately went to plead with the others, truly the group's favorite. Even a 20-point favor was secured after a bit of persistent begging. I'm counting on all of you for tomorrow's college entrance exam. Her eyes sparkled as she spoke the sweetest words, yet carried out the most ruthless deeds. She paved her own way to a top-tier university by sacrificing the entire class's chances at college before leaving the school. I went to the teacher first and reclaimed my guaranteed admission to Tsinghua University. In my past life, I naively thought I could prove myself through the college entrance exam. How foolish I was. After filling out my personal information, I felt a wave of complete relief. Just before the college entrance exams, Sheng Zhuo was still at home threatening me. Sis, you have to agree to this, or you'll regret it big time. I let out a cold laugh. You too, I was certain, the person before me had been reborn, just like I had. Once I was seated in the examination hall, those words appeared before my eyes once more. Greetings, host. Are you willing to provide Yi Wan with 20 points of assistance? I let out a cold laugh. I am willing to give Yi Wan 200 points, all of my own. After a few question marks appeared on the system, it responded, proceed, but your Gaokao score will be recorded as 0. Confirmed. I meticulously filled every inch of the answer sheet. So what? If it's a 0, I've already been admitted to Tsinghua University. Didn't Yi Wan want a high score? Well, this time, even 750 points won't be enough to contain it. 3. After the college entrance exam, Yi Wan and the system confirmed the successful score allocation, but it seems the system only told her that everyone agreed to give points, and didn't mention that I gave 200 points. Yi Wan flushed with excitement. Yay, I knew you all loved me the most. The luckiest thing for Wan is getting to meet all of you. Once I start university, it'll be my turn to be everyone's little ray of sunshine. Everyone was utterly charmed by Yi Wan, and Sheng Zhuo's gaze never once left her. Sheng Zhuo chimed in, so, Wan, which university are you thinking of? We're all just following our ray of sunshine. Yeah, absolutely. Wherever Wan goes, we go. Wan, Peking University is really great. You should think about it. and Shanghai University is pretty good too, if you want to go there. I'd even be willing to lower my standards and apply with you. Watching Yi Wanwan tilt her head in thought, I couldn't help but turn away and laugh. Lowering your standards, and you're talking about Peking U and Shanghai U. True, while their character leaves much to be desired, academically, they're top tier. They could basically get into any school they wanted. It's just a shame that Yi Wanwan isn't the delicate little flower they imagined her to be. I went home with a cold sneer. When the scores come out, they'll know what it feels like to fall from the heavens into the mud. 3 years of hard work in high school is about to be ruined by Yi Wanwan alone. By the time I got home, my parents had already prepared a gift for the college entrance exam. We each got a set of the highest spec electronics on the market, one for me and one for Shengzhua. With Shengzhua not around, I said pointedly, "It seems Mom and Dad really do love Shengzhua as their own son." My parents exchanged a look, picking up on the odd note in my voice. "What's wrong? You used to forbid any mention of Shengzhua's background. Why bring it up yourself today? Since Shengzhua has come into our family, your father and I will naturally treat him as our own." After a moment's hesitation, I ventured to ask, "But what if Shengzhua gets ambitious and decides to compete with me in the future?" Having built the home furnishing business to this level, my parents immediately grasped the implication of my words. After a moment of silence, they immediately made their position clear. "If he doesn't make a fuss or fight for it, the family business will be split evenly between you two. But if he dares lay a finger on you, he can get the hell out of the Sheng family." With my parents' words, the weight lifted from my chest and my heart settled. Sure enough, when Shengzhua came home that evening and saw we both had identical gadgets, his face immediately fell. "Mom, Dad, my sister is completely hopeless with electronics. Buying her a computer would be a total waste of money. Why don't you just give me her computer instead? I have a friend who could really use one." I had already braced them for this, and my parents' expressions darkened slightly. "No, we've always been fair and impartial to both of you, never favoring one over the other." Shengzhua dropped the scheming. Shengzhua was left speechless, and when he looked at me again, his eyes held an even darker, more malicious glint. I was even convinced that, even without the business with Yi Wanwan, that wolf Shengzhua would have turned on me sooner or later. Given this second chance at life, I absolutely will not give him that opportunity. For ever since the college entrance exams ended, Yi Wanwan has been out having fun with her classmates non-stop. My social media feed gets flooded with their posts every single day. Yi Wanwan's family isn't well off, but she's got Shengzhua, that sucker, footing the bill for all her expenses. She's spending my family's money, yet Yi Wanwan still has the nerve to strut around right in front of me. Sheng Lanwei, are you really not going to hang out with us? We're going to be classmates for the next 4 years. You know, it's not good to be so standoffish. Wah, do you hate me or something? I hadn't done anything wrong, but with just a few of her manipulative, fake sweet words, I became the target of everyone's criticism again. Seeing them all pointing fingers and whispering about me, I decided to throw cold water on the whole situation. "The results come out tomorrow. How can you guys even think about having fun?" Everyone fell silent. Even if you were confident about your grades, the wait was still nerve-wracking. The next day, when we went to school to check our results, everyone had dark circles under their eyes, yet they were buzzing with an unusual excitement. My mom promised me that if I do well on the test, she'll reward me with a 2-week trip to Xinjiang. It's different for me. I need this good grade to negotiate a scholarship with the school. Then, my dad's gambling debt can finally be paid off. Same here. My dad said if I score over 680 this time, he'll divorce that old woman and marry my mom. I estimated my score at 702, so even if I lose 20 points, I'd still have 682. My mom is already waiting to plan the wedding. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I'm afraid all their beautiful hopes have been utterly dashed. Not just dashed, they're likely doomed to eternal ruin. Yet, some people are unhappy with my attitude. What are you laughing at, Sheng Lanwei? I absolutely despise that superior, holier-than-thou attitude of yours. Back in high school, you always had it in for Wanwan. Isn't it just because you look down on her for coming from an ordinary family? Your family has money, you're the little princess, and the rest of us are just the lower class. Is that it? Someone like you should absolutely not apply to the same university as us. The very Sight of you irritates me, words like these held no power to wound me. I nodded calmly, don't worry. I never had any intention of attending the same school as you in the first place. They were left speechless with anger, and Xingzhua stepped forward again. Come on, sis, you really need to stop. At home, you're always complaining that our classmates smell poor and don't score as high as you, looking down on them. But can't you at least tone it down in front of everyone? That's really going too far. His words stirred up the crowd's fury, and Yi Wanwan also stepped up, questioning in a sickly sweet voice. Classmate Sheng Lanwei, family background and exam scores are just one part of life. Connections are the real capital for long-term success. If you offend everyone, no matter how rich you are or how well you score, you won't get far in the future. I glanced at my watch. It was exactly time to check the scores. The thrill of payback outweighed my anger, and I couldn't wait to remind them. You can check them now. At those words, everyone eagerly sat down in front of their computers, standing in the perfect spot. I listened to the rapid clatter of ID numbers being typed in, watching each person's face with eager anticipation. I counted down silently in my head. 3, 2, 1. Holy shit, are you kidding me? I only got 472. Is this damn computer broken? I estimated 687. How did I end up with 487? Wait, that can't be right. I only got a little over 400 points myself. How is this possible? Shengzhua's face instantly paled, but his first instinct was to look up at me. Sheng Lanwei, what did you get? Right, he's always been competitive with me, ever since we were kids. What do you mean? How many points could I get? I've already been admitted to Tsinghua. 5. I ignored him and instead cried out in shock. How could the whole class average only a little over 400, with scores that low? Forget getting into a top-tier, 985, university, you wouldn't even get into a decent technical college. Our class average was supposed to be over 680. Did everyone just have a collective off day? In the panic of their own disappointing Gaokao results, they forgot all about targeting me. Someone burst into tears on the spot. This can't be right. I demand a regrade. My whole family's hopes are riding on me. There's no way my score is this low. If I go home with a score like this, my mom is going to kill me. Oh God, what am I going to do, even if she gave 120 points? It shouldn't have been this disastrous. Amidst the chorus of wails, Yi Wanwan's face was contorted, nearly grotesque from the effort of holding back her laughter. As expected, she never intended to attend the same university as the rest of them from the very beginning. Those classmates who had doted on her for 3 years were merely stepping stones for her climb to the top. I chimed in meaningfully. Everyone's score is 200 points below the average. It doesn't feel like we were given 20 points, more like 200, don't you think? The moment I said that, everyone's eyes turned toward Yi Wanwan in unison. The student from the most difficult financial background stepped up to Yi Wanwan and asked in an awkward tone, Wanwan, what did you get on the test? After all, she was doing something sneaky. With so many eyes on her, Yi Wanwan couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. She instinctively moved to block the computer screen. I haven't found it yet. How could you not find it? The classmate simply swiveled the monitor to face themselves. She let out a gasp as she read the words on the screen. Yi Wanwan's score can't be found. It's been blocked. Even though she was the group's darling, who could stand watching someone who was once beneath her, with her own help, now leave her in the dust. No one was in a good mood, and I twisted the knife in the wound on purpose. I heard they only hide the scores for the top 50 students in the entire province. At that moment, Yi Wanwan couldn't control the corners of her mouth, and her voice trembled with excitement. I'm in the provincial top 50. Does this mean I can get into Tsinghua? With a score like this, I might even be the top scorer in the Gaokao. The classmate who had just checked his score said in a low voice. How did a slacker like you get such a high score, while all of us got such low marks? Even those who usually doted on Yi Wanwan began to have their doubts. Yeah. Wanwan, is something wrong? Why are our scores so low? While you made it into the top 50, what a bunch of idiots. She didn't make the top 50 and have her score hidden. Her score actually exceeded the Gaokao's maximum possible total, so the system flagged it as anomalous. 6. Faced with everyone's questioning, Yi Wanwan was still trying to weasel her way out by playing the victim. I don't know what happened either. Maybe everyone just had an off day. Wah, don't any of you want to see me do well Was all your kindness towards me just fake? You don't actually want me to succeed? When faced with tangible benefits, some still bought into her nonsense, but others were already at their breaking point. What's the use of saying that now? If you'd earned those scores on your own, you could be the top scorer for all we care. But your scores came from us, 20 points from each person. From 30 people, that's at least 600 points for you. Forget that, but how did each of us lose an average of 200 points? You won. I was just watching the drama unfold from the sidelines when Xingzhua, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly stood up, his face ashen. This isn't one's fault. Someone must be pulling the strings behind the scenes. As he spoke, he turned his gaze back to me. Sheng Lanwei, even if you are my own sister, I can't side with you on something this serious. I heard you at home talking nonsense to some system. Did you steal everyone's scores? I let out a bitter laugh. For his own gain, Sheng Zhuo really will say anything. With just a couple of sentences, he threw me right back into the spotlight, and the other students' emotions were running high again. Sheng Lanwei, you're already filthy rich. Why do you have to scheme against us behind our backs? Is it so hard to just let us poor people have a chance to survive? Give me back my score right now, or I swear I'll take us both down with me. I looked at Sheng Zhuo with composed ease and retorted coldly. What a load of nonsense you're spouting. Do you have any proof that I took your score? All eyes were on me, and no one noticed that Yi Wan was so excited her eyes were practically sparkling. In her rush to pin the blame on me, she immediately shouted, the best way to prove it is with your own score. Sheng Zhuo's eyes were filled with venom. Exactly. Do you dare show everyone your transcript? We all only scored a little over 400, but if your score is hidden too, that proves you stole our points. Yeah, show us. If you dare steal my score, you're dead. Hearing this, I just smiled, sat down at the computer without another word, entered my ID number, and hit the enter key right in front of everyone. 0 points. Her score was the lowest of them all. Could it really have nothing to do with her? Sheng Zhuo was stunned for a moment. How could that be? To keep the act going, I also pretended to be shaken, swaying slightly on my feet. While no one was paying attention, I sent 2 text messages from my phone. Within minutes, a clamor of footsteps echoed from the hallway. Immediately after, a crowd surged through the classroom doorway. We heard the top scorer in this year's National College entrance exam is from your class. Could you tell us who Yi Wan is? Is Yi Wan available for an interview? 7. The same classmates who once banded together to snatch my scholarship for Yi Wan's sake were now dead silent, as expected. They only feel the sting when their own interests are on the line. But how could Yi Wan possibly pass up such a golden opportunity? She stood up excitedly, raising her hand. I'm Yi Wan, and I'm willing. Reporters swarmed in, with every camera lens pointed at Yi Wan. Miss Yi Wan, as the top scorer in the province, how did you motivate everyone to study together? Wan, do you have any study tips you'd like to share? You're the pride of our school now. With every question the reporter asked, the student's expressions grew darker. She brazenly began lecturing on study methods, but upon noticing the students' disapproving looks, she abruptly changed tack and shifted the focus onto me. My score is just my normal performance. The truly phenomenal one is our classmate, Sheng Lanwei. Guess how many points she got? The reporters exchanged bewildered glances. Sheng Lanwei, did you get a perfect score or something? Yi Wan let out a snort of laughter. A perfect score. She got a big fat 0. All the points I worked so hard to get to boost our class average were completely dragged down by her. You know, it is strange. Sheng Lanwei's grades were always so good. How did she manage to choke on the college entrance exam? She just blurted it out right in front of everyone. Could it be all those high scores before were from cheating? The reporter was practically shoving the microphone in my face. Before I could even get a word out, Sheng Zhuo let out another heavy sigh beside me. Sis, I told you ages ago not to hang around with those lowlifes from outside school. Are you happy with what you've become? How are you going to explain this to mom and dad when we get home? I had to laugh. Sheng Zhuo really never misses a chance to throw me under the bus. You're just making baseless accusations. Who exactly have I been hanging around with? What are the names of these so-called lowlifes? Sheng Zhuo, you're over 18 now. Spreading rumors in front of all these people is something you can be held legally responsible 4. Shengzhua paused for a moment before finally falling silent. At the same time, the homeroom teacher hurried over in a flurry. Although she couldn't understand why Yu Wanwan had become the top scorer in the Gaokao, she was nonetheless filled with joy at that moment. Congratulations, Wanwan. Since you're the top scorer in the Gaokao, Tsinghua and Peking University professors will probably be here any minute to recruit you. Have you decided which school and major you want to choose, Yi? Wanwan declared without a hint of modesty, I want to study the best major and contribute to our country. The homeroom teacher was moved to speechlessness, while the journalists began their live broadcast. We're here live with the Gaokao top scorer, ready to witness the legendary scene of Tsinghua and Peking University fighting to recruit a student. Away from the cameras, I could finally let myself smile. A top scorer with 900 points in the Gaokao, now that's a first for me, after a long wait. The sound of movement finally echoed from the hallway. Half an hour later, Yi Wanwan nervously smoothed her clothes, while the reporters started calling out to the camera, they're here. But to everyone's surprise, the person who entered was not a teacher from Tsinghua or Peking University, it was the principal, accompanied by several police officers. The principal demanded angrily, who is Yi Wanwan? All eyes turned to Yi Wanwan. The officers understood the cue and walked straight over. Placing handcuffs on her, Miss Yu Wanwan, you are suspected of cheating on the National College entrance exam. Please come with us for questioning. Everyone was stunned, but I noticed a hint of schadenfreude on more faces than not. Yu Wanwan struggled, refusing to admit guilt. Are you sure you've got the right person? I was the top scorer in the Gaokao. How could I possibly be the one plagiarizing? If anyone's copying, it's others copying from me, the officer sneered. Then perhaps you can explain something to us. The Gaokao is out of 750 points. How exactly did you manage to score 910, 8? Yu Wanwan was stunned, and Shengzhuo was dumbfounded. The reporters were stunned for a moment, then their eyes lit up. After all, there's a top scorer every year, but one with 910 points is a rare sight. Student Yu Wanwan, so your score wasn't displayed because it was anomalous. How did you manage that? Cheating on the college entrance exam is illegal. Are you aware of that? Even as she was being taken away, Yu Wanwan kept shouting, it's impossible. How could the score be that high? It's capped at 700, I've already calculated it. You must have the wrong person. There must be other people named Yu Wanwan. Let me go. I'm the National College entrance exam top scorer. The principal was so furious he clutched his chest, gasping for air. Expel that delinquent student immediately. She's ruined our school's reputation built over 20 years. The students were still in a state of shock, unable to process what had just happened, but someone still snorted coldly. Serves her right. What do we do now? Can we apply for a retake? I can't possibly go home with this score. I'm doomed. What underhanded trick did Yu Wanwan pull? Can anyone save me? My parents have been farmers their whole lives. They were counting on me to make them proud in the Gaokao. In an instant, everyone felt utter disgust towards Yu Wanwan. Wait. No, apart from Shengzhua, the brother of that guy who's Yi Wanwan's number one simp. I don't believe Wanwan would ever do anything to betray us. It's obvious she's a victim in all this too. Shengzhua walked straight up to me. Sheng Lanwei, what exactly have you been scheming? I couldn't help but laugh instead of getting angry. Shengzhua, shouldn't I be the one asking you that? I'm your family. Why do you always take Yu Wanwan's side and keep falsely accusing me? A vein throbbed on his temple. Because I know you'd never give Wanwan a fair grade. She's already suffered enough. Why do you always have to make things difficult for her? Shengzhua is still trying to use his old tricks, trying to stir up public outrage to turn everyone against me, but he's forgotten that no one is on Yu Wanwan's side anymore. Not only did no one speak up for him, but everyone just stared at him with strange, suspicious looks. Shengzhua, look at the state we're in because of you. How can you stand there and lie through your teeth? Are you and Yu Wanwan in on this together, deceiving us all? Exactly. We all just saw Sheng Lanwei's score. She got the lowest mark out of everyone. You still haven't told us what you scored this time. 510. How come you got so many more points than us? Shengzhua instantly became the target of everyone's criticism again. Completely forgetting to come after me, he was surrounded and questioned. While I made my way home at a leisurely pace, this is only a preliminary victory, just like in a past life. They won't let this go so easily. 9. Shengzhua's whole world revolves around Yu Wanwan. The moment he got home, he kicked my door in with a heavy thud. Sheng Lanwei, get out here. Don't think I don't know you're behind this. I just don't have the proof yet. Just wait until I get my hands on the evidence. I swear I'll make you pay for this. Of course I believe it. Why wouldn't I? After all, in my past life, he was the one who sweet-talked me into going out, only for me to get kidnapped. But this time, I've learned Yu Wanwan's trick of playing the delicate, helpless girl. With a pitiful look, I gazed at my parents sitting in my room and said, Mom, Dad, you really need to get Shengzhua under control. My father's face flushed crimson with rage. Without a word, he stood up, flung the door open, and landed a stinging slap right across Shengzhua's face. The force of the blow sent Shengzhua staggering back a couple of steps before he managed to steady himself. His instinctive reaction was to clench his fist and strike back, but he froze when he saw who was behind the door. His parents. Dad, Mom, shouldn't you all be at the office right now? How did you? My father smacked him twice. When I'm not home, I had no idea this is how you usually bully Weiwei. Shengzhua, who gave you the nerve to say something like that? Who exactly are you trying to kill? With our parents right there. He didn't dare to act up and could only accept his punishment. The adopted son was a wolf in sheep's clothing, with ambitions so vile he even dared to bully his own sister. My parents were truly furious. My father invoked the family discipline, gave him a sound thrashing, and locked him up for 3 days before letting him out. Apologize to your sister. Shengzhua glanced at me, his eyes still smoldering with resentment. I'm sorry, sis. I gave a casual nod, looking as if I couldn't be bothered to press the matter. Over the past 3 days, Yu Wanwan had become a household name among examinees nationwide, the talk of the town. If I remember correctly, today should be the day Yu Wanwan gets released. She still has to keep up the act. The show must go on. How could we proceed without Shengzhua's cooperation? 10. This time, I've decided to strike first. Everyone in the class only scored a little over 400 points, and right now, they're all feeling pretty upset, so I put out a call to action in the group chat. We're the top class. Even if we underperformed, our scores shouldn't be this much lower than usual. Is anyone willing to join me in requesting a grade review? Those people never liked me before, but as soon as I said that, they started agreeing. I'm going to appeal. I refuse to believe my score is this low. I have to get to the bottom of this. Shengzhua tried to stop him, saying, the Gaokao scores are out. Even if you request a review, it won't change anything. Instead of obsessing over this, you should focus on preparing to retake the exam next year. Now it's finally my turn to frame him. I tagged Shengzhua in the group chat, saying, with all this dodging and stalling, I wouldn't be surprised if you're the one who tampered with things, causing everyone to get such low scores. Shengzhua was furious, yelling that I was making a false accusation. I simply went with everyone else to apply for a grade review. By the time Yu Wanwan was let out, we had already returned and literally bumped right into her. This time, I didn't even have to say a word. Everyone was already confronting Yu Wanwan with sharp questions. Yu Wanwan, how could you lie to us like this? We all checked our answer sheets. There were no mistakes. All the answers were correct. So why did our scores drop from 600 to 400? How many points did you steal from us? Yu Wanwan, who had been ready to confront them, was taken aback and swallowed her words. She put on an innocent face and looked at everyone. What are you all talking about? I don't understand a word of it, Shengzhua said anxiously. Don't let Sheng Lanwei brainwash you. Wanwan is just a naive little girl. What could she possibly do to lower your scores? I curled the corner of my lip and retorted, if 20 points can be traded, what's so difficult about 200? Exactly, Yu Wanwan, after all the kindness we've shown you, you're nothing but a viper. Biting us in the back at the most critical moment. Give us back our scores. I need to get into university. Someone, in a fit of rage, even charged forward, grabbing Yu Wanwan's hair and pulling at it. Give me back my exam results. My mother was so upset about this she ended up in the hospital. Give them back. I watched coldly, thinking to myself, serves you right. They all got what they deserved. In my past life, I helped them, and they had the nerve to stand on their moral high ground and call me petty. Now that they're actually faced with going to a vocational college, they're suddenly not so keen on the idea. I thought that was the end of it for Yu Wanwan. But then she suddenly burst into tears. I'm a victim in all this too. Why do you believe Sheng Lanwei over me? Do I have to die to prove my innocence? Fine, I'll show you, Sheng Lanwei. You drove me to this. 12. She turned and ran straight for the rooftop of the nearest building. Sheng Zhuo froze for a moment, his face flushing red with urgency. What are you all standing around for? Go after her. If anything happens to Wan, you'll all be murderers. After all, she had been the group's darling for so long. After a moment's hesitation, the crowd rushed frantically up to the rooftop. I followed them at a leisurely pace, feigning death, using the threat of suicide to coerce, the same old trick as last time. Yi Wan stood teetering on the rooftop's edge, her red-rimmed eyes looking utterly shattered. I'm so disappointed in you all. After 3 years of friendship, you won't even listen to what I have to say. Sheng Zhuo played along perfectly and quickly said, we're listening, go on, tell us slowly what happened. Whenever someone else tried to speak, Sheng Zhuo would turn and roar at them. Do you really want blood on your hands? I stood at the back of the crowd and quietly slipped my phone into my pocket. Yi Wan began her tearful accusations against me. This is all Sheng Lanwei's fault. Sheng Lanwei, why would you do this to me? Everyone agreed to give me 20 points each. But you went back on your word right there in the exam hall and gave me 200. You've completely broken the system's rules. The scoring ratio suddenly changed from 1 to 10, 1. The 20 points everyone gave me now cost them 200 points each, and because of your 200 points, my score shot up to 900. Now everyone thinks I cheated. You're the one who caused all this, but now I'm the one being treated like a criminal. I just can't go on like this. After she finished speaking, the classmates who had been glaring at Yi Wan with fury now turned their dark, hostile gazes toward me. I knew it, these people aren't worth helping, no matter what. 13, Sheng Lanwei. So it was you all along. Because of you, we only got 400 points, and Wan can't take the college entrance exam for 3 years. What were you thinking? What good does this do for you? I laughed. Exactly, what's in it for me? Why do you believe her just because she says so? Sheng Zhuo waved his hand dismissively. Right now, everyone is asking you. Don't think you can talk your way out of this with a few glib words. That's right, between you and Wan, we trust Wan more. Isn't this all because you're jealous that we all dote on Wan? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Yi Wan sobbed out her accusation. You're the young mistress of the house. Getting a 0 on one exam means nothing to you. You can repeat a year if you want. Study abroad if you feel like it. It's not like that for us ordinary people. Wah, if you have some grudge against me, take it out on me. Why do you have to ruin the futures of the entire class? As I watched the increasingly hostile glares from everyone, a chill flashed through my eyes. I asked, my voice slow and deliberate, the system is hers. Do you really believe she didn't know the ratio was 10-1? How can you buy such nonsense? Enough talk. Sheng Zhuo advanced toward me, step by step. The one who deserves to die isn't Wan, it's you. If you've done wrong, you must face the consequences, even if you're my own sister. That doesn't change a thing. Sheng Zhuo, what are you trying to do? I looked at him with feigned fear, while Sheng Zhuo turned his gaze back to the crowd. I've just checked. There are no cameras here. Now that we're all up on this rooftop, someone has to die. It's only fair, sis. After all, you're the one who messed up. The classmates fell silent for a moment, but someone quickly agreed. That's right, you ruined our futures. You deserve to die. Sheng Lanwei, repent for what you've done. The wind up here on the rooftop is so strong, it'd be understandable if someone were to accidentally fall. Do you want to jump yourself, or shall we throw you down? 14. Just like in my past life, everyone started closing in on me. Step by step, Sheng Zhuo's face twisted with malice. Wan will live on. No matter what, you're the one who's going to die. I'll live a good life in your place. No sooner had the words been spoken than the rooftop door was kicked open. My parents burst into the room with the police in tow, and without a word, my father kicked Sheng Zhuo right in the gut. He couldn't react in time. The pain was so intense that he crumpled to the floor, unable to get back up. You bastard, after everything our family has done for you, you tried to kill your own sister. Why don't you just go to hell, you son of a bitch? We should have just let you die out there. The others were arrested before they could even figure out what was happening. Yi Wan, who had intended to jump, was pinned to the ground by the police. My father, unsatisfied after kicking the man, tried to keep hitting him but was stopped by the police. After regaining his composure, Shengzhua even shed a few tears. What are you doing here? I knew it. You only love Sheng Lanwei, not me. We're both your children, and you actually called the police on me. Don't you realize that calling the police will ruin my life? You're playing favorites. You dote on that girl and don't care about your own son. Why? Furious, my mother slapped him across the face. Because you're not our real child. You were always a child we adopted. All these years, Wei Wei has insisted we treat you as our own, but you were the one who grew greedy and tried to lay a hand on her. At those words, Shengzhua froze. He refused to accept this truth, shaking his head in frantic denial. But my mom just pulled up the adoption photo on her phone. If Wei Wei hadn't passed by the orphanage back then and taken pity on you, you'd still be an unwanted child. Shengzhua was deeply shaken, shaking his head and muttering to himself. Meanwhile, Yi Wanwan and the others were also struggling desperately. What gives you the right to arrest me? On what grounds? We didn't do anything. I smiled and pulled out my phone, revealing the live streaming screen. Sorry to inform you, but your little plan to throw me off the building was just broadcast to the entire nation. The police watched them with cold eyes. They're all just students who finished the college entrance exams. How can their hearts be so black? Take them all back to the station. Realizing their struggles were futile, everyone started wailing in a fit of self-destructive despair. Don't get cocky, Sheng Lanwei. You scored a big fat 0 on the Gaokao. Even if we only get into a vocational college, you still can't beat us. I just laughed. So what if I got a 0 on the Gaokao? I was admitted through a special recommendation. I didn't even need the scores, 15, although they were taken in. They were quickly released because they hadn't actually committed a crime, but they became infamous online. When they got out, they were met with a torrent of public condemnation. Some outraged netizens even doxed them, and others showed up at their homes to cause trouble. Yi Wanwan was forced out of town, under immense pressure. They had no choice but to come and apologize to me as a group. Yi Wanwan was still putting on her sweet, manipulative act. Everyone makes mistakes. Miss, please, give us a way out. The others chimed in. Sheng Lanwei, please forgive us. Even the police let us go. Do you really have to keep pushing us like this? We were classmates for 3 years. After all, how can you be so heartless? You'll have to repeat the year with a 0 score anyway. How about we be classmates for 1 more year? We can all get into a top university together. I couldn't help but laugh. Who says a 0 score means I can't go to school? They were taken aback. With a 0, where could you possibly go? No amount of money gives you the right to do that. I produced my Tsinghua University admission letter. My apologies, but I've decided to reclaim that guaranteed admission spot after all. The college entrance exam. I was just playing along. What? Yi Wanwan was the first to react, letting out a sharp, piercing shriek. You only took the college entrance exam to give me a 200-point score, didn't you? You're trying to ruin me. I nodded with a smile. That's right. She charged at me as if provoked, but I swung my arm in a wide arc and slapped her. You're still pretending at a time like this. You knew the exchange rate was 10-1 from the moment you made the trade. From the very beginning, you intended to climb up by stepping on them. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Really, she knew about the grade conversion ratio all along. Yi Wanwan, I'm going to fight you to the death. But before they could make a move, Yi Wanwan snapped. First, she pulled a knife from her bosom, staring at me with a crazed look in her eyes. If you're going to make my life hell, then you can go to hell with me. I frowned and tried to dodge, but Shengzhua suddenly lunged from my side and pinned me down. Sheng Lanwei, I'm not afraid to die. I'll take you down with me again. He wanted to leave me with no escape, but this is right outside my own home. Bodyguards at the critical moment. I was yanked back by a bodyguard. Yi Wanwan couldn't retract the dagger in time, and it plunged straight into Shengzhua's heart. The crowd scattered in a panic. Shengzhua collapsed on the spot, while Yi Wanwan stood frozen in terror. Shengzhua, I didn't mean to kill you. I laughed and casually dialed 911. Yi Wanwan was successfully sent to prison, receiving a life sentence for intentional homicide. Shengzhua died right outside my house. When my parents came back, they just took one look, had the body sent straight to the crematorium, and didn't even bother to collect the ashes. Those classmates who had hoped to attend a junior college were rejected by every school due to their poor reputation. Meanwhile, I was successfully admitted to Tsinghua University 2 months later. Those scumbags can just rot away slowly. The end. Story 2. At our coming-of-age ceremony, the flower goddess gifted my sister and me 2 companion blossoms. She promised we could attain immortality by nurturing them with devotion and forming bonds with their spirits. My sister immediately claimed the abyssal black lotus, foremost among ancient divine lotuses, leaving me with the stubbornly unyielding golden merit lotus. Little did she know the abyssal black lotus, though easier to cultivate, was equally prone to betraying its master. On the very night of their spiritual pact, he gouged out my sister's golden core and fled to the demon realm to become its king. After 3 centuries nourishing the sacred lotus with my heart's blood, he finally formed a bond with me, and I ascended to Buddhahood. Consumed by jealousy, my sister lied about our mother's illness. When I returned home, she poisoned me with spirit-bane herbs. They locked me in a dungeon for 7 days of torment until I bled out my last. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day we obtained our companion flowers. My younger sister snatched my flower, but I didn't chase after her. Little did she know, those 2 divine lotuses would later compete to claim me as their master. Sister, let me be the one to nurture the golden lotus. My sister snatched the golden lotus from my hands, its razor-sharp thorns slicing my fingertips. Drops of blood trickled down the petals into the pistil, vanishing without a trace. The flower goddess on the high throne frowned. Emrys, this virtuous golden lotus is difficult to awaken and bond with. It requires daily nourishment from heart's blood. Can your body endure this? Clutching the lotus desperately, my sister pleaded, Goddess, the black lotus only needs purified fingertip blood to awaken and spiritual energy to sustain it. My sister's constitution is far weaker than mine. I can't bear to see her suffer. Her words would have moved me to tears. Had I not been reborn, you'll surely be moved by my sister's acting. My sister and I are princesses of the butterfly spirit clan. Butterfly spirits have limited innate cultivation and must draw spiritual energy from their symbiotic flowers. Superior symbiotic flowers harbor floral spirits. By awakening these spirits, gaining their allegiance, and forming a cultivation bond through dual cultivation, butterfly spirits can achieve rapid spiritual advancement. Some may even ascend to immortality. On the day my sister and I came of age, the flower goddess visited and presented us with 2 lotuses. One was an abyssal black lotus grown in the swamps of hell, revered as the foremost of ancient divine lotuses. Steeped in dark energy yet overflowing with spiritual power, it required minimal nourishment and was easily awakened. The other was a golden lotus of virtue cultivated before the Buddha. The golden lotus of merit demands daily nourishment with heart's blood. Even when awakened, its spirit rarely submits to a master, though its spiritual energy pales against the black lotus vigor. It excels in purity. In our past life, the moment the flower deity finished introductions, my sister eagerly claimed the black lotus. She tended to that black lotus with relentless devotion, sharing meals and even her bed. Within days, the black lotus was awakened by the younger sister and immediately pledged allegiance, demanding to form a spiritual contract with her. Struck by his extraordinary appearance, the younger sister agreed without hesitation. That very night during their first dual cultivation ritual, the black lotus ripped out the elder sister's golden core with his bare hands and devoured it. After consuming half the golden cores of the entire butterfly spirit clan, he fled to the demon realm and crowned himself the demon king. Mother had to use our clan's sacred treasure just to save my sister's life, but after losing her core, the spirit butterfly could barely maintain her human form with what little spiritual power remained. Having chosen the golden lotus, I secluded myself in the back mountains to focus on nurturing it. This very act allowed me to evade the black lotus's deadly strike. After feeding golden lotus my heart's blood for 3 centuries, I finally awakened it. Though fragile, golden lotus was even more delicate than my own constitution. To better nurture it, I scoured the lands for rare elixirs, roaming the world with golden lotus in tow. During our travels, I witnessed countless acts of bullying the weak and monstrous creatures preying on common folk. As a fragile little butterfly spirit with barely any magic power, my instinct was always to avoid such troubles. But golden lotus would force me to handle these matters every time I tried to flee. Gradually, my powers grew stronger and my reputation spread far and wide. It wasn't until I heard Black Lotus had captured an entire city's population, planning to refine elixirs with 10,000 human hearts. Without a second thought, I stormed into the netherworld to confront him, only to realize I stood no chance against him. Black Lotus left me critically wounded, on death's doorstep. Golden Lotus finally formed a soul pact with me to save my life. The covenant was sealed, and I ascended to Buddhahood. My sister grew mad with jealousy upon hearing this. She deceived me, claiming our mother was dying and wished to see me one last time. After I returned to the Butterfly Spirit clan, she tricked me into drinking spirit-suppressing herb to seal my powers. They dragged me to the forbidden grounds of the Butterfly Spirit clan, bound me with immortal binding ropes, and tortured me for 7 days and nights. Zephyr, let the Black Lotus be your companion flower then. Its dark aura runs deep. You must purify it thoroughly before awakening the flower. Goddess's voice snapped me out of my memories. I glanced at my younger sister, with a smug expression. She said to me, "Sister, the Black Lotus brims with potent spiritual energy. With its power, you're bound to ascend to immortality. While I may never awaken this golden lotus, when you reach the heavens, don't you dare forget about me. Don't worry, I'll remember." But the golden lotus has a heart harder than stone. You think ascension is that easy? Think again. After the flower goddess departed, my younger sister couldn't wait to bid farewell to our mother and immediately retreated to the back mountains for seclusion. Mother instructed me to take the Black Lotus and purify its sinister aura first. I agreed verbally, but secretly brought the Black Lotus straight to my chamber. I carelessly placed it on the table and had a maid fetch me a bowl of pig's blood. 2 drops fell upon it. The blood seeped into the black petals, quickly merging as one. After days of continuous dripping, the Black Lotus soared into the air, emitting an eerie glow. The dark mist coalesced, materializing into a figure clad in black. He landed on the ground, approached me, and knelt on one knee. "It was your blood that awakened me. From now on, you shall be my master." Callum's face was strikingly handsome, and his smile could topple cities. I pointed at the coagulated pig's blood and said, "It wasn't my blood that woke you. Your master's in the pig pen out back." Callum paused for a few seconds before smiling again. "It's all right. Flower spirits choose their own masters. Our meeting is fated. From now on, you shall be my master." I stood there in silence. Callum stepped forward and grasped my hand, declaring earnestly, "Master, I fell for you at first sight. Please form a spiritual contract with me." Staring into his eyes, I replied coldly, "You don't want a contract. You're after my core energy, aren't you, 6th Prince?" At my words, Callum steadied himself, his smile taking on a sinister edge. "My disguise is peerless. Even the flower goddess couldn't spot any flaws. How did you uncover my true identity?" Callum was never the Netherworld Black Lotus to begin with. He's the illegitimate son of the Ghost King and the Tiger King. No one has ever seen his true form. They say he looks neither like a ghost nor a demon. Though addressed as the 6th Prince, Callum lived worse than a common specter in the underworld. Without a ghost's essence or a demon's core, everyone called him a monster. Callum disguised himself as an umbral Black Lotus solely to steal our spirit butterfly's core. If he consumes 99 demon cores from different races, he'll transform into a true demon. Before I could respond, hands closed around my throat. "Since you know why I'm here, hand over your core willingly. I promise to make this quick and painless." I remained composed despite the choking grip, neither submissive nor defiant. "Not only do I know you came from my Butterfly Spirit clan's core, I know exactly why. In my memories, my sister's core was the first one Callum consumed, the first step in his descent into darkness. You want to fully transform into a demon, become the Demon King, and make all those spirits and demons who look down on you regret it, don't you?" The grip around my neck loosened slightly. I continued, "I know another way to make them regret it." After a moment, Callum released his hold. "What's your plan? Let's hear it." I cleared my throat and downed a glass of water in one gulp. "Listen, this whole devouring demon cores to become a monster shtick is beyond cliché. Your dad's the Ghost King, your brother's the Ghost King, your mom's the Demon Queen. Even if you become some terrifying great Demon King, so what? They'll still look down on you because they've all been there. If you want real respect, you've got to accomplish something they never could." Callum stood there completely bamboozled. "What can't they achieve?" I chuckled while holding my teacup. "Callum, want to attain immortality? I could teach you, be it human, demon, or spirit. all can ascend to immortality. The path is just extraordinarily difficult. After all, it's easy to turn bad, but staying good is the real challenge. Callum scoffed, teaching me immortality. You're not even immortal yourself, I said leisurely. Our butterfly spirit clan has produced the most ascended immortals among all spirit races, though I'm not one yet. I know the shortcuts. When it comes to things like this, finding the right approach is what matters most. To my surprise, after all my earnest persuasion, Callum actually decided to give it a try. I laid down 3 ground rules with him: recite the Diamond Sutra daily, perform 1 good deed each day, only virtuous acts, no wrongdoing. Callum agreed without hesitation. After hearing Callum had been awakened by me, my younger sister came running from the back hills the very next day. The first thing she asked me was when I planned to form a spiritual bond with Callum. I told her I wasn't ready to bond with Callum yet. I wanted to travel with him to gain experience and save the common people. What does the outside world have to do with us? My sister, pale from daily heart blood extraction, protested. Sister, you can't be serious. Without bonding, you'll never enhance your spiritual power. You should form the bond sooner, ascend faster and bring honor to our mother. Her apparent concern made it seem to outsiders like she was breaking her back over my affairs. Only I knew she wanted me to form a bond with Callum. Watching me march to my doom, even mother thought my actions absurd. This is madness. Now that you've awakened the flower spirit, stop playing the hero. Forming the bond and cultivating together is the true path. Not a single spirit from our butterfly clan has ascended to immortality since mother took leadership. That's why she's pinned all her hopes on us. I reassured my mother. Mother, I'm not doing this for fun. Callum is deeply suspicious and brimming with dark energy. Even a blood pact couldn't bind his will. It might backfire. I want to build genuine affection between us. With emotional connection, even the most wicked flower becomes easier to tame. Convinced by my words, mother granted me permission to descend the mountain for training. Several days later, Callum and I made our way down the mountain together. Initially, he followed my instructions with surprising compliance. After doing several good deeds yet still being misunderstood, he grew furious and clamored to return to being a wicked monster. At times like these, I would simply spread my hands. 2. Go ahead if you must. Committing one evil act is easy, but remember, a single misdeed erases the credit for 99 good ones. Sometimes the monster was simply more than he could handle. I'd encourage him by saying, "You did great, even though you didn't win." That monster didn't get the upper hand either. Callum's just like a little kid, he only keeps going with constant praise and coaxing. We've spent 20 years together, but they were just minor demons we dealt with. Some remembered us, while others died before they could. Just then, news came from the Butterfly Spirit clan. My younger sister was about to bond with her flower spirit. Such an important occasion couldn't go without her elder sister. The news caught me off guard. It took me 3 centuries to awaken that person, and 6 more to form a pact with him, yet my sister achieved it in less than 20 years. No wonder Jet said we were destined to meet but not to be. This is what true fate looks like. I remained sullen the entire way home. Noticing my mood, Callum teased, "You're so grumpy. Could it be you're jealous of your sister's bonding ceremony? If you're that desperate, I could always bond with you instead." I shot him a glance. "Got a crush on me?" Callum's ears turned red instantly as he snapped, "In your dreams." After half a month's journey, we finally returned to Butterfly Spirit Vale. Mom prepared a welcome dinner for both of us. My younger sister came with Jet too. "Sis, how have you been lately?" I smiled and replied, "Not bad. Word has it you and your flower spirit have been doing good deeds everywhere. Your reputation precedes you," my sister said to Callum, a glint of murder in her eyes while proudly adding, "Jet and I have formed a pact. We're heading down the mountain soon. The foothills are dangerous. Be careful, little sister." My gaze instinctively flickered toward Jet, clad in white robes. His tender gaze rested entirely on my sister. This version of Jet feels completely foreign to me. Jet once told me he'd long since abandoned all human emotions. Seems my little sister holds a special place in his heart. That's why they formed their bond so quickly. That's right, but Jet promised he'll definitely protect me, my sister replied with a triumphant smile. The moment my sister finished speaking, voices of agreement immediately rose around her. They spoke of celestial omens when Jet awakened. Even the flower goddess was drawn to the scene, declaring Jet the most extraordinary floral spirit she'd ever witnessed. Others whispered how Jet showed particular tenderness toward my sister, their bond radiating profound devotion. I sat listening to these words, my appetite completely gone. Callum suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Don't listen to their nonsense. I'm the strongest one here." Midway through the meal, I started feeling lightheaded. I rose to take my leave. My sister suddenly channeled her energy toward me. "Elder sister, you've been down the mountain so long, your spiritual power must have grown. Show me how strong you've become." Barely dodging the attack, I realized I was completely drained of strength. Turning to Callum, I saw he'd already passed out in his seat. My sister's strikes were swift and precise. She'd clearly come prepared. The elders watched the spectacle, praising my sister's extraordinary spiritual prowess. She pummeled me relentlessly until I collapsed on the ground. My younger sister arched an eyebrow. "You're so weak, sis." With that, she swung her palm toward me. I knew there was no dodging it. "Close your eyes." But the pain never came. Jet in white stepped between us, giving a light push that sent my sister flying into a pillar. My sister paled. "Jet, what are you doing?" Jet spat out 5 words, "Hand over the antidote." Having just stolen the spotlight with so many eyes on her, the younger sister naturally refused to admit her victory was unfairly won. She cooed in a sugary voice, "Jet, what antidote are you talking about? I don't understand." With a flick of his wrist, Jet sent the antidote box flying out from his sister's sleeve. He bent down to hand it to me, and I murmured my thanks. Jet stood up, shot his sister a glance, then turned on his heel and left. The message was clear. He despised his sister's underhanded tactics. The younger sister hurried after him, forcing an ingratiating smile. "Don't be mad, Jet. I was just teasing our sister." Jet replied coldly, "Your malice remains. We'll postpone the master bonding ritual until you're ready." Her face went pale. "No, please. I'll copy the Diamond Sutra 100 times, I swear." Murmurs spread through the crowd. They whispered how Emery's methods were so underhanded. No wonder the flower spirit refused to bond with a master. That's when it hit me. Jet still hadn't chosen a master. With my past life's memories, how could I have missed my sister drugging my drink? I let it slide because I needed to know if Jet was still the same Jet, born at the feet of Buddha. How could his eyes tolerate even a speck of dust? Yet I can't help feeling sorrowful. Jet remains unchanged. Even if this person rots into mud, he'd never give up. To him, spending a lifetime saving multitudes is no different from devoting it to just one soul. I swallowed the antidote and handed another one to Callum. When Callum realized he'd been drugged, he flew into a rage and swore to kill his sister. I asked him, "Are you sure? If you kill her, you'll never become an immortal." "So be it." Callum smashed his cup on the ground. "What's so great about being an immortal? All these restrictions. Can't do this, can't do that. I'd rather be a demon." "You keep saying you want to be a monster. Ever seen a monster without a core?" I was so frustrated that the hurtful words just slipped out. Immediately regretted it and wanted to make amends, but didn't get the chance. Callum stormed off in anger. "Let me show you how to make an inner elixir right now." I got up to chase after them, only to find my sister standing outside. When I opened the door, she was holding gifts, asking how I was doing, saying she came to visit me. My sister acted completely natural, as if she hadn't been the one who drugged me. I glared at the pile and sneered, "No poison this time, I hope. You've always had such a dark sense of humor." My sister lifted her chin. "Jet said immortality requires abstaining from killing and accumulating good deeds. That's why you've been taking Callum out to do charity work, isn't it? This is the only path to immortality. To become divine, one must uphold righteousness and compassion, endure what others cannot bear, and forgive all who have wronged you." My sister smiled again. "But even in performing virtuous deeds, celestial favor matters. Some may do 100 good deeds yet never attain immortality without divine grace, while those blessed need only one." I said, "So you found that person, sister. May your ascension come swiftly." My sister rose. "Sister, Jet has agreed to form our spiritual bond in 3 days. You simply must come." My sister is gone. I sat there for so long my back went numb, until Callum returned. He tossed me a bag of candied chestnuts, my absolute favorite snack. I looked up at him. "Weren't you supposed to hunt for inner elixirs? How come you brought back chestnuts instead?" 3, Callum said stubbornly. "None of those elixirs were worth my time. Being an immortal suits me better anyway." I couldn't help but chuckle. After a pause, Callum turned to me. "Zephyr, when are we leaving? I've still got merits to Accumulate, I replied. 3 days later, my sister and Jet's bonding ceremony was magnificent. Callum and I stood among the butterfly spirits. The nearby butterfly spirits were whispering about several missing clan members recently, warning everyone to stay indoors after dark. My sister spotted me instantly. She pulled me onto the stage. Sis, actually I should thank you for letting me have Jet. You deserve the front row. I declined politely. I tried to leave, but she gripped my arm tightly. Zephyr, I know you've been reborn too. Must be eating you up inside, huh? It took you 9 centuries to win him over, but I did it in just 20 years. Now watch closely as I show you how your beloved ends up with me. Those words froze me in place. The ceremony began with my sister standing there, waiting for Jet to kneel before her. Her smirk grew even more triumphant, but no one expected what came next. Under everyone's gaze, Jet walked straight toward me and dropped to his knees. Master, he called out to me. The room fell silent for a moment before my sister snapped. Jet, what are you doing? I took a step back, my voice hoarse as I said, you've got the wrong person. Jet kept staring at me and shook his head. No mistake, I want Zephyr to be my master. My sister snapped. Jet, are you toying with me? It was my heart's blood that awakened you, my daily devotion that sustained you. How dare you choose her now? Jet glanced at her coolly. First, a flower spirit chooses its own master. Second, it was Zephyr's fingertip blood that roused me. I froze, remembering my sister's bleeding finger when she snatched the flower that day. I turned to look at Jet again. Those crystal-clear eyes laid bare their feelings for me without reservation. A daring thought flashed through my mind. Perhaps Jet had been reborn too. The suspicion was soon confirmed. Zephyr, I remember everything. Our past life together. But you didn't choose me, and I was furious. I waited for you to wake me, yet you never came. When I finally awoke on my own, they told me you'd already left with Callum. That's why I agreed to bond with Emrys. I wanted to give you the silent treatment again, but when I heard you were leaving once more, I couldn't bear it. Jet closed the distance between us. Zephyr, I want to pledge myself to you now. Will you accept me? So he'd been angry with me all along. His kindness toward Emrys was just an act. This was unmistakably the Jet from my memories. I took a few steps back. I wanted to say no, but this was Jet standing right in front of me, just as I was at a loss. Callum ascended onto the stage. He stepped in front of me. Hey man, she's my master, not yours. We've already formed a pact. Jet wasn't fooled by such a cheap trick. Jet frowned at me. Choose between him and me. I chose Callum. I practically fled in panic, dragging Callum with me until we'd run a good distance before stopping. When we finally halted, Callum studied me with a grave expression for what felt like ages. Suddenly he asked, the real reason you've refused our soul bonding ritual, it's not about hindering my ascension, but him, isn't it? I couldn't lie to Callum, though Jet wasn't the whole reason either. Only after my ascension did I learn the truth. The bond between butterfly spirits and flower spirits wasn't formed because butterfly spirits lacked cultivation power and needed their floral counterparts' energy. The real reason was an ancient curse that forever barred butterfly spirits from achieving immortality. To break this celestial limitation, the butterfly immortals devised a solution, finding destined companion flowers blessed with immortal potential. The spiritual pact between them was essentially an exchange of destinies. On the day of a butterfly spirit's ascension, the bonded flower spirit would endure the heavenly tribulation in their place, bearing the wrath of the heavens, turn to ashes in the wind. That's the same reason Jet refused to form a bond with me. In our past life, every existence in this world follows a preordained destiny. By celestial decree, Callum is destined to become a calamitous demon lord. Where there's a great demon, there must be a Buddha, and Jet is that Buddha, beloved by the Buddha himself. Jet is destined for enlightenment. But the path demands trials, like the trial of love. I am Jet's trial of love. I was destined to be the final obstacle in Jet's path to enlightenment. By fate's design, I was meant to die by Callum's hand. Until Jet awakened, slew Callum, and achieved Buddhahood in that very moment. But in our past lives, Jet ultimately formed a soul bond with me and swapped our destinies. That's why I attained Buddhahood in the end, not celestial immortality. Jet turned to ashes because of me. After attaining enlightenment, I understood the truth of everything. I knelt before Buddha, willing to sacrifice everything to bring Jet back. Buddha struck me with divine lightning from my impure mind, hoping to awaken me. That's precisely why my sister could easily subdue me with the soul bane herb. Given this second chance at life, I won't stand by and watch Jet die in my place again. If I'm truly Jet's destined heartbreak, then avoiding him altogether should break the cycle. As for Callum, I feel a bit guilty. Callum is also part of Jet's tribulation. When I took him on those trials, I never truly intended for him to attain immortality. How could a bloodstained demon from his past life ever deserve ascension? Every monster I made him slay was actually a trial Jet needed to overcome. My job is to help Jet deal with the demon Callum. Killing isn't the only solution. Turning the world's worst demon into a decent man, that works too, still counts as solving the problem. That's why Callum's demonic powers haven't improved one bit in 20 years. Even if Jet fought him, he'd definitely win. I've kept at this for 20 years. I just never expected Jet would agree to form a pact with my sister. So even if Jet refuses to acknowledge me as master, I'm prepared to ruin this ritual. I never told Callum about these things, just made up some excuse to brush it off. Callum's so easy to fool. He believes whatever I say. After Callum and I left, I heard my sister beg Jet to bond with her, but he refused. That was the day Jet left the Butterfly Spirit clan. Hearing this, I breathed a sigh of relief. The heavenly Tao had already orchestrated everything. All I needed to do was die at the crucial moment. That was also the day Callum and I prepared to leave the Butterfly Spirit clan. My sister surrounded us with a group of clansmen. Every weapon was pointed at Callum. My sister declared, "This man is no flower spirit. He's the Ghost King's son. He slaughtered our people and stole their inner cores." Amidst the rising accusations, the truth finally dawned on me. Many butterfly spirits from our clan have gone missing recently, and when found, their inner cores had all been ripped out. What nonsense are you spouting? When did I ever consume their cores? Callum stood back to back with me, defending himself before meeting my gaze. "Zephyr, believe me, I truly didn't," but my younger sister countered. "I heard you say it with my own ears that day. You were going to steal their cores. How dare you deny it? Today we'll avenge the fallen butterfly spirits." The group swiftly launched their attack toward us. The butterfly spirits possessed modest spiritual power. Though Callum hadn't enhanced his abilities in years, he still far surpassed them in strength. After just a few exchanges, all the assailants lay defeated on the ground. Callum frowned at his sister who'd been intent on killing him moments ago, pressing his weapon against her throat as he turned to me. "She framed me deliberately. Eliminating her wouldn't count as killing an innocent. Surely this won't hinder my path to immortality." I knew Callum well. If he'd truly slain those butterfly spirits, he wouldn't have denied it. The fact that my sister knew every detail proves she's involved in this. Remembering my past life, I realized my sister was nothing but trouble. I said, "Kill her." Callum raised his paw excitedly, licking his lips. "Then I'll get started." My hand froze midair as my younger sister burst into laughter. "Still dreaming of ascension, Callum? Do you know why Zephyr refused your bond? Did you truly believe she wanted to elevate you? She's using you as a stepping stone for her beloved. Surely you know immortality requires celestial favor, which you lack. Callum, your only purpose is to die by Jet's hand and fuel his transcendence." By the time I tried to stop her, she'd already spilled the whole truth. Callum stood stunned for several heartbeats before turning to me. "Is what she said true?" I've never seen Callum this heartbroken before. His whole body was trembling, yet he was desperately trying to hold himself together. I knew if I denied it now, Callum would force himself to believe me anyway. The words caught in my throat. My silence provoked him. Callum laughed with bloodshot eyes. "So that's how it is, Zephyr. You always hated me killing, didn't you? Well, today I'll show you exactly how it's done." Callum grabbed a bystander, veins bulging as his entire body trembled with rage. I shouted, "Callum, stop. If you kill someone, there's no coming back from that." Callum shot me an icy glare. In the end, he held back from delivering the killing blow. He went berserk, smashing everything around him before soaring into the sky. "Zephyr, I hate you. Next time we meet, I swear I'll kill you." Callum is gone. I turned to face my sister and drew a dagger from my robe. "Since we've both been reborn, there's no need for explanations. Your existence is a curse upon this world. Today I'll end it." Given our current spiritual power levels, my sister stands no chance against me. When my eyes opened again, but when I attacked her, she effortlessly flipped me onto the ground. Sensing her overwhelming spiritual power, I realized one thing. So it was you. You killed those butterfly spirits and harvested their cores. Why would you do this? My younger sister threw her head back in laughter. "Dear sister, you finally figured it out. If you want to know why, look no further than yourself. If not for you, Jet would have formed a pact with me. I never wanted to kill them, but you're the one who drove my flower spirit away. My sister initially only intended to imprison those butterfly spirits to frame Callum. It was Jet's departure that planted wicked thoughts in her mind, gritting my teeth through the pain. I said, "You're actually killing people. Don't you want to attain immortality anymore? Once Jet and I form our spiritual bond and exchange destinies, he'll be the one committing murders." My sister laughed. "With Callum gone now, someone of his temperament will soon start harming others. After the exchange, when I kill him, I'll naturally achieve Buddhahood just like you." I scoffed. "Clever plan. But Jet would never form a pact with you, for he wouldn't before," my sister said coldly before knocking me unconscious. "But now that we have you," she strung me up on the ramparts of Butterfly Spirit Valley, declaring Jet must return to form the pact with her, or watch me hang. When our mother came to reason with her, she struck her down too. 3 days later, Jet appeared. The Butterfly Spirit Valley had transformed beyond recognition after their mother was wounded. The younger sister forced her to abdicate, plunging the entire valley into chaos within days. Even the wind carried the thick metallic tang of blood. Jet stood at the doorway, pointing at me as he said to his sister, "Let her go, and I'll form the pact with you." His sister glared at him in fury. "So you came after all, Jet? After all my devotion, you still choose this worthless wench? Since I'm here, Emery's, I'll honor the pact with you. Just release her first." Jet always keeps his word. With a snap of her fingers, my sister lowered me to the ground, yet no one dared to untie me. She shot me a contemptuous glance. "Sister, watch closely how I form a blood pact with your beloved." My sister approached Jet, deliberately pricked her finger, and let the blood coalesce into floating crimson orbs. The dagger was handed to Jet. Jet suddenly lunged at her sister. The younger sister couldn't dodge in time. The blade struck her chest, though not fatal. The wound enraged her. "You double-crossing bastard, Jet, I swear I'll kill Zephyr right now." But when she turned back, I was already standing beside Jet. My sister's pupils dilated in shock as realization dawned. You've been pretending all along." I nodded. "Obviously. Why, to ascend to immortality, one must rid the mortal realm of a great calamity. That scourge should have been Callum, but he's taken no lives in this lifetime, so the burden falls to you." My sister understood the moment I finished speaking. "So that's your game, Zephyr." My sister produced a celestial herb from her robes, our clan's sacred treasure from Butterfly Spirit Valley, and consumed it. "But you miscalculated. I'm no Callum. The two of you stand no chance against me." Empowered by the sacred herb, my sister's spiritual energy surged, overwhelming us both within moments. With one final palm strike, little sister sent us both crashing down. "I told you two couldn't beat me." Honestly, before she could finish, a long sword pierced through her from behind. Whirling around in shock, she saw Callum's face. You're still here," Callum sneered as he drew his sword. "Of course I stayed. Killing you grants immortality. Why would I pass up such an opportunity?" The blade struck his sister's vital point. Torrents of spiritual energy gushed from the gaping wound in her chest. Clutching the injury, she gasped, "No, this can't be." Yet that spiritual energy still dissipated. She reverted to her past self, staring blankly at me. "Zephyr, you've doomed me. May you die a wretched death," I said calmly. "The one who deserves to die now is you." I drew my dagger and handed it to Callum. "Kill her and you'll attain immortality. That was my promise to you." Callum glanced at the dagger and sneered. "I've lost interest in immortality. Your grudge with her runs deeper. You do the honors." I thrust the dagger into his hand. "Callum, I won't deny I've used you, but I never lied. You lacked the celestial mandate, had to earn it through merit. Now mortals build shrines in your name. This is your final trial. Seize it. Prove your doubters wrong." After my urging, Callum tightened his grip on the blade and advanced toward his sister, facing death. The sister's composure finally cracked. She took a few steps before Callum grabbed her by the neck. "Callum, please let me go. I beg you, spare me," she pleaded frantically. But Callum had no intention of listening. Just as he raised his knife to strike, her sister's scream pierced the air. "Flower goddess, save me!" The sky darkened abruptly as the flower goddess descended from the heavens, snatching my sister away. The mastermind behind it all has finally made her appearance, though I'd suspected the Flower Goddess was pulling the strings. I still couldn't believe it. Looking up at her, I demanded, as a deity, how could you do this? Because your butterfly spirit kin deserve to perish, the Flower Goddess murmured. Why should we flower spirits exchange our fates with your cursed, earthbound kind? Are our lives worth nothing? So the Flower Goddess befriended our butterfly spirit clan all along just for this day. She couldn't stand seeing the flower spirit's fates being altered, deeming our clan utterly shameless. That's why she recognized the Black Lotus was Callum in disguise, yet delivered it to us anyway. She'd long struck a deal with her sister. Even if Callum spared our clan, her sister would destroy us. The bargaining chip was Jet. My sister is destined for enlightenment, yet the Flower Goddess only seeks the annihilation of the butterfly spirit clan. In my past life, I only learned this after ascension. But in this lifetime, my sister knew all along. Someone must have revealed Jet's hidden truth to her. When will this cycle of vengeance end? Even the Flower Goddess seems to have forgotten. The one who originally cursed the butterfly spirit, preventing its ascension, was none other than herself. This was undoubtedly a brutal battle. Even with the three of us fighting together, we couldn't so much as scratch the Flower Goddess. In the end, the three of us lay on the ground, drenched in blood. Yet Jet reached out and said to me, "Zephyr, let's form the pact." I nodded. I glanced at the bloodlust-crazed flower god, realizing this was our only way out now, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I can't keep draining Jet's life force. As I hesitated, Callum reached out his hand. "Bond with me instead. My spiritual power surpasses his." Witnessing this, my sister, who just regained some energy, lunged forward with her sword. "How dare you? After all I've done for you, you'd kill me? That useless girl does nothing, yet you'd all die for her. If you're so eager to meet your end, let the Flower Goddess send all three of you to your graves together." The Flower Goddess gathered her energy once more. After a moment's thought, I turned to Jet and said, "All right." As Jet's brow relaxed, his hand reached out toward me. I gave him a shove instead, then dashed toward the Flower Goddess. Everyone forgot I'm Jet's real downfall. My death alone would make Jet ascend instantly. "Zephyr, Zephyr." I ran toward the flower god's radiant light. I heard Jet screaming my name in anguish, saw two figures rushing toward me, but it was too late. I'd already collided with it, soar into the sky, then come falling down. In my final moments, I saw the sky filled with falling petals. Golden light emerged on the distant horizon as flocks of birds took flight. I saw Jet sitting there, tears streaming down her face as she transformed into a Buddha. Callum ascended in a flash of azure light. By the time I fell into Jet's arms, he and Callum had already reduced the Flower Goddess and my sister to ashes. The world finally fell silent. Jet's tears fell like raindrops upon my face. I heard him say he loved me, that he regretted everything. Callum was crying too, calling me heartless for not consulting him, saying now that he's immortal no one would look down on him anymore. I closed my eyes with a smile. Everything returned to how it was. It's all over. Story 2. The end of the world has arrived. My sister and I were fleeing for our lives when we encountered the Chinese army. My sister lied that I was infected, got on the plane alone, and left me among the zombie horde. I could only keep company with a group of adventurers. By a stroke of luck, I awakened my superpower. When I returned to the safe house in glory, my sister had already been infected and bit me before she died. "Why do you have a better life than me?" Given a chance to live again, my sister didn't hesitate to choose to stay, hoping to awaken her superpower. At this moment, a prompt sound came from my mind. "Host, welcome back." 1. Let my sister go. I'm willing to stay and wait for the next wave of rescue. When I heard these words, I suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Alyssa was desperately pushing me onto the rescue plane, and the urgency on her face was very sincere. She looked just like a sister who loved her elder sister deeply and understood the bigger picture. The rescue team members couldn't help but be moved by her. Others couldn't see through her, but I could see it clearly. There was still excitement on her face from being reborn, and the smile on her lips was not concealed at all. I pretended not to know anything, with tears in my eyes, and held her hand to give instructions. "Alyssa, you must be careful when you're alone. Not only the zombie horde but also that group of so-called adventurers." Alyssa impatiently pulled her hand away, with a hostile expression on her face, and whispered in a voice that only I could hear, "Sister, this time, the one who awakens the superpower and is envied by others will be me. You can just be a coward in the safe house and finally be bitten To death by the zombies. Her face was full of resentment and viciousness, and she laughed heartily. I just found it ridiculous. Why did she think that I would follow in her footsteps? I was the one who fought my way out of the zombie horde, but I still pretended to be ignorant and looked at her with a confused expression. Alyssa, what are you talking about? When Alyssa saw me like this, she was even more convinced that she was the chosen one, the only one who had been reborn. She smiled and shook her head, but I clearly saw the arrogance in her eyes. Got it, sister, hurry up and get on the plane. I had no choice but to look reluctant, turning back every few steps as I followed the rescue team members onto the helicopter. On the way to the safe house, the sound of the helicopter's propellers was very loud. However, my thoughts were not interrupted. Looking down from the window of the cabin, the sight was full of devastation. Since the zombie virus began to spread, the entire human world has been occupied by the virus. At first, there were large-scale animal deaths in the suburbs, causing panic. People initially thought it was caused by the nuclear wastewater pollution of a certain country, but within a few days, some humans began to have their skin rot and move in a dull manner. Like stray dogs, they would always gang up on lone humans and attack them. After research, Chinese experts named this virus the zombie virus and warned residents not to go out. When Alyssa saw the news, she was eager to leave the city and didn't listen to my dissuasion at all. I didn't feel at ease letting her go out alone, so I had to accompany her. In my previous life, the SUV broke down halfway, and we happened to meet the Chinese army that came to the rescue. Alyssa lied that I was infected with the zombie virus, left me behind, and got on the plane alone. Half an hour later, a large number of zombie hordes suddenly appeared in this city. I fled desperately, using all my strength to wound the zombies, but in the end, I was cornered in an unfinished building. When I was isolated and helpless, filled with despair, I awakened my superpower. Because I didn't have a good grasp of my superpower, I got a lot of injuries before I managed to escape. It took a long time before I happened to meet the adventurers who came here to rest. After being rescued, I stayed with them and made a name for myself along the way. Just as the team was gradually growing and we returned to the safe house, I met Alyssa. The safe house was breached, and Alyssa was infected with the zombie virus. Seeing my successful return, she was filled with nothing but jealousy. I couldn't bear to kill her, but she bit me before she died. I had no choice but to die with her. Given a chance to live again, I should really thank her for being willing to leave the hope of survival to me. As for the superpower, didn't she know what belongs to me? No one can take away. The familiar electronic mechanical voice rang out at this moment. Host, welcome back. Long time no see. Too, in an abandoned hospital in the suburbs, I was packing the medicine in the hospital together with my teammates. On the way to the safe house, I successfully connected with my system from my previous life and awakened my superpower. The base will issue an identity card to each person. One can accumulate exchange points by hunting zombies and other means to exchange for daily necessities and food, and I, within a month, cleared 5 zombie hordes and successfully saved the residents of an entire community, becoming widely known. I don't have great strength, but fortunately, with the blessing of my superpower, I am very agile. I can always kill a zombie with one strike when hunting them, but today, the mission took too long, and I was a bit exhausted. My mental strength of the superpower was also depleted. The long-term battle caused my blood sugar to drop. My palms were cold and trembling, and I bit my lower lip tightly, trying to hold on until I returned to the base. Autumn, be careful. My teammates' shout made me quickly perk up. When I turned my head, a zombie was rushing towards me at a very fast speed. Without time to think, I instinctively closed my eyes and swung my dagger, gurgling. It was the sound of the zombie's blood flowing into its throat after its head was cut off. I opened my eyes and met a pair of extremely gentle eyes. It was a somewhat familiar man, as if I had seen him somewhere before. Alexander, my teammate, recognized him first. I remembered. It was the name that scrolled on the large screen of the base. Alexander, who was agile and known as the god of war. Alexander reached out and helped me up, asking with concern, "Are you okay?" I shook my head, gritted my teeth, and tried to stand up straight, but I still felt a bit unable to do so. But he suddenly smiled and forcefully stuffed a fruit candy into my mouth. It was lemon-flavored, and I squinted my eyes due to the sourness. "Your name is Autumn." In the car on the way back, Alexander sat beside me and asked. I had regained some energy and nodded at him. a group of people who claim to be adventurers came to the base today, and one of them has a name very similar to yours." He scratched his head in distress, as if recalling, "It seems to be called Ali." This sentence instantly raised my alertness to the maximum. My expression became serious immediately, and I interrupted him, saying the name first. "Alyssa, yes, that's the name, but you don't look like her at all." After hearing the name Alyssa, Alexander said very sincerely, "You look more pleasing to the eye than her." But I didn't have the time to care about his compliment to me. I reached out and patted my teammate in the driver's seat. "Drive faster." But it shouldn't be like this. According to the action trajectory in my previous life, at this time, I was on the way to find the safe house with the adventurers. Why did Alyssa come so quickly? 3. As soon as the SUV drove through the gate of the base, I saw Alyssa standing in the center of the crowd at a glance. She was surrounded by a group of adventurers, with a beaming smile on her face. I got out of the car, and when I saw Alyssa's face, I was quite shocked. The conditions in the end of the world were harsh. It was common to not have enough food to eat and not enough clothes to cover oneself. Even with the protection of the adventurers along the way, she had suffered a lot. At the moment, her cheeks were sunken. She was sallow and emaciated, and the long-term malnutrition had completely consumed all of her former baby fat. Even the black hair that she was so proud of had become dry, rough, and sparse on top of her head. Alexander's eyes kept turning between me and Alyssa, and he suddenly laughed out loud. I was a bit puzzled and turned my head to meet his gaze. He just reached out and patted my shoulder, saying meaningfully, "You have to be careful." Alexander left. I turned around and was about to leave. Just then, Alyssa caught a glimpse of me and choked out, "Sister." I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, had no choice but to turn around to see what tricks Alyssa could come up with. She pushed through the crowd and walked directly to my side, her eyes filled with tears. I was a bit confused. She clearly made the choice herself. What was she crying for now? She grabbed my hand and started crying when I was still in shock. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and she looked very pitiful. "Sister, you clearly saw me. Why didn't you want to recognize me?" I didn't want to have a dispute with her in front of others and tried to pull my hand back forcefully, but Alyssa fell straight to the ground following the force of my pull. Her head hit the cement ground with a thud. Many people present couldn't bear to see her like this and quickly went over to help her up. "What's wrong with you? How could you be so cruel to your own sister?" It has come true, that saying. How can you know if there are people or ghosts around you until you are at your saddest moment? Alyssa refused their kindness and shook her head helplessly. "Sister, are you still angry with me? The other day, you lost your necklace and insisted that I go and find it for you, but when I came back, you had already gotten on the rescue plane, and you wouldn't turn back no matter how much I called you." She crawled to my side with her hands and feet, hugged my leg tightly, and explained tearfully, "I felt nothing inside. Just thinking that my sister was really a good material for an actress." She trembled and took out a rusty necklace from her pocket, holding it in her hand like a precious treasure. "Sister, I found the necklace for you. Please don't be angry anymore, okay?" When the people around heard Alyssa's words, the looks in their eyes as they looked at me were filled with scrutiny. They started whispering, "I heard that she is still the second-ranked hunter. How could she do such a thing?" Some people even directly scolded me. In the end of the world, having someone like this is like having a time bomb beside you, abandoning her own sister among the zombie horde just for a necklace. She's really selfish, but the time bomb is Alyssa, and the selfish one is also Alyssa. My expression didn't change at all from beginning to end. The sisterly affection for Alyssa had already been completely consumed when we died together in my previous life. I'd rather go our separate ways. But she insisted on provoking me and even wanted to drown me in the saliva of others in this turbulent era. If I don't fight back, how can I be worthy of her scheming? Alyssa still held the necklace high, and her arm had already started to tremble. She stared at me through gritted teeth and mouthed at me, "You lost." I didn't care about the scolding from the people around. I just looked down at her with a cold tone. "Alyssa, do you dare to swear?" But she laughed self-deprecatingly, wiped the tears on her face, and nodded submissively. "Okay, sister. I won't say any more, since you don't want to admit it. I don't want to make things difficult for you either. Just don't be angry with me." The voices of the people around accusing me were getting louder and louder. I really admire her ability to stir up trouble. I was very annoyed in my heart and just wanted to leave here quickly, but a familiar voice came from behind. Autumn, you weren't so indecisive when you were killing zombies. For such a vicious sister. Do you still want to save her face? For I turned my head and met those eyes that seemed to be smiling but not smiling. It was Alexander. Beside him was a familiar figure, the rescue team member who saved me that day. When Alyssa saw him, her face instantly changed. She clearly didn't expect there to be a witness who would expose her ridiculous lies. Everyone, this is the volunteer who participated in the rescue that day. As the first-ranked hunter, as soon as Alexander opened his mouth, the trust level soared instantly. Everyone fell silent and waited quietly for the rescuer to speak. I remember you. The rescuer frowned and thought for a while, then pointed at Alyssa. You volunteered to stay and wait for the next wave of rescue, and you voluntarily gave the chance to live to your sister. The crowd started whispering again. Didn't she say that her sister forced her to find the necklace? Sure enough, we can't just listen to one side of the story. I said Autumn didn't look like this kind of person. Alyssa, with her pale face, listened to everyone's discussions around her. She swallowed hard and tried to defend herself. It was all my sister who forced me to say that. She asked me to leave a good impression in front of others, but in front of the witness, all her explanations seemed very pale and powerless. I really wanted to laugh, but I held it back. Even a 3-year-old child has heard the story of the boy who cried wolf. Why did she expect those who had been deceived once to believe her again? The people around all cast wary glances at Alyssa. Some people had already taken a few steps back, as if they wanted to draw a clear line from her. Alyssa looked at all this in disbelief, and tears fell again. Are you afraid of her? Alexander came to my side at some point and asked me with a smile. Afraid? I almost laughed out loud. I just think there's no need to waste time on such a person. Just then, Alyssa covered her face and rushed out of the crowd, seemingly too ashamed to face it. You see, when the injury is not on oneself, one can't feel the pain. Guess whether those adventurers will take revenge on you. Alexander raised his chin, and I followed his gaze to the opposite side. Sure enough, they were the familiar faces from my previous life. I turned around and left, but Alexander followed behind me persistently. He reached out and patted my shoulder. Don't be afraid. I'll look out for you from now on. I might be the only one with superpowers in this world. With the memories of 2 lifetimes and the system that was reborn with me, would I be afraid? I stopped in my tracks, pursed my lips, but still couldn't help it and cursed with a smile. Crazy. Alyssa moved into the best dormitory, and her prestige among the crowd suddenly rose again. After hearing about what she had done, I just wanted to curse. Idiot. She was so stupid that even though she was my own sister, I wanted to kill her with my own hands. Through making inquiries from various sources, I finally learned what had happened to Alyssa during this period. After I got on the rescue plane, she didn't encounter the zombie horde. Instead, she took the initiative to find the base of the adventurers and arrogantly demanded that they protect her. I was almost angry enough to laugh. Did she think those adventurers were some kind of heavenly soldiers descending from the sky? They were just a group of outlaws hiding under the guise of adventurers. Along the way, they burned, killed, looted, and committed all sorts of atrocities. In my previous life, after I was saved by that group of people, before I could even thank them, 4 or 5 burly men surrounded me. The greed in their eyes was not only for money but also a certain desire. I hastily took out all the valuable things on me, but what I got in return was their groping hands all over me, and I could only rely on my newly awakened superpower and use a dagger to slit the throat of one of them. Only then did I gain the fear of the others. I disdained to be with them, but in the face of the proposition of survival, I could only compromise. But Alyssa didn't have superpowers, and she couldn't be as resolute as I was. As expected, that group of adventurers beat her half to death. Just when they were about to succeed in their evil deeds, in a desperate situation, she revealed that she had been reborn, which gave her a chance to catch her breath. She led this group of people to avoid the attacks of the zombie horde several times and gradually established a foothold. This time was the same. She took the initiative to admit that she was a reborn person and was willing to act with the hunters. She predicted the direction of the zombie evolution correctly several times and led the hunters to avoid the attacks of the zombie horde. Both the researchers and the ordinary people praised her. It was as if everyone had forgotten her previous slander of me, but it didn't matter. I didn't mind. All the hunters wanted to go on missions with Alyssa, except Alexander. When I asked him about it, he was quite straightforward. I said it last time, she's not as pleasing To the eye as you, she affects my mood when killing zombies. I pursed my lips. There wasn't a single word of truth coming out of this man's mouth. Fortunately, Alexander and I had a very tacit cooperation. Without the need for others, we could still get a high number of exchange points, but I suddenly found that the exchange points in my identity card were actually decreasing more and more. I frowned and asked the staff member in charge of counting the exchange points, "Why are my exchange points decreasing?" He immediately started operating on the keyboard. When he saw a certain page, he let out a long sigh of relief. "There's nothing wrong with the exchange points. There was a large-scale exchange on your side." Me, large-scale exchange, but I hadn't made any large-scale exchanges at all. The staff member turned the display screen towards me and showed it to me. The numbers on it were shocking. The base recently upgraded the system, and every transaction is clearly recorded. By the way, now immediate family members can also use each other's exchange points. The staff member talked endlessly about the advancement of the system, but I keenly grasped the key point, immediate family members. I leaned closer to the screen and carefully identified the small characters in the line of exchanger. Sure enough, it was as I had thought, Alyssa, 6. It was lunchtime now. Without having time to change out of my equipment, I hurried to the dining hall. I saw Alyssa at a glance, surrounded by many people. She sat in the middle like the moon surrounded by stars, with a gentle smile on her face. It seemed that she really enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. When I got closer, I could hear their voices of conversation. "It doesn't matter, you can order whatever you want. It's on me," Alyssa said casually. A little girl beside her opened her eyes wide. "Really? I haven't eaten these things for a long time." "Alyssa, you're so generous." When Alyssa heard this, the smile on her face became even wider. I gave a cold snort. Humph, of course she can be generous. She's not using the exchange points that she fought for in the sea of corpses and blood. She actually has the nerve to be generous with other people's things. A surge of nameless anger welled up in my chest, and I immediately reached out and grabbed Alyssa's hair. Alyssa felt the pain, and her head had to tilt back following the force of my hand. In her panic, her pupils suddenly contracted. The little girl quickly stood up and tried to stop me. "What are you doing? How can you hit someone?" I ignored her and asked Alyssa word by word, "Do you have any shame?" A look of guilt flashed across Alyssa's face, and then she started to stubbornly argue. "Sister, what do you mean by that? I know you don't like me. I've already kept my distance from you. Why are you treating me like this?" She said these words very pitifully, as if I was bullying her. She had indeed kept her distance from me, but she didn't hold back at all. When using my things, I was just about to question her when I was interrupted by the little girl beside me. "How can you be like this? Let go of your hand quickly. Do you know who she is? She's the one who was reborn. Everyone in the whole base needs her protection." I turned my head and stared at her until she shut up, and then I spoke. "Alyssa, is it really satisfying for you to act generous with my exchange points?" Alyssa's tears fell instantly. "Sister, I just feel sorry for Sophia. She just came to the base, and her body is still very weak. I really can't bear to see her not having enough to eat." The little girl named Sophia also started to choke up. "I'll pay you back in the future." I disdainfully pursed my lips. "Pay back? What can you use to pay back? You can only get 10 exchange points for hunting one zombie." I glanced at the sumptuous dishes on the table. "This table of food must cost at least 100 exchange points. With your small stature, when will you be able to pay it back?" Alyssa's mouth moved as if she wanted to say something, but I had already raised my hand and slapped her across the face. The clear sound directly attracted everyone's attention. How could she bear the shame of being slapped by me in full view of everyone? Her eyes were filled with hatred. Several onlookers couldn't stand it anymore and began to accuse me one after another. "You have no compassion at all." Compassion? In the end of the world, whoever has compassion will die first. "Alyssa, consider this meal as if I fed it to a dog. But you acted generous with my exchange points without my consent and lived in the most luxurious dormitory. Is it really being generous to be generous with other people's things?" I sneered ironically, and those who had just spoken up for her immediately lowered their heads and remained silent. Alyssa's face turned pale, and she couldn't say anything either. Suddenly, a voice resounded through the base. "Emergency notice. Emergency notice. A large number of zombie hordes have appeared in the northwest direction. Request for support." My eyes froze. and I immediately let go of the hand that was holding Alyssa and prepared to go to the battlefield. When I went out, I heard someone lift Alyssa up to a high place. "Alyssa, you were reborn. You must know how to defeat the zombies this time, right?" Alyssa's response was very guilty. Of course. And I also remembered that in my previous life, no zombie horde could break through the restriction 10 kilometers away. Could it be that our Rebirth had created a butterfly effect? 7. Alexander and I arrived at the place where the zombies appeared first and observed the movements of the zombies in the corner. I took out a small notebook from my pocket and quickly wrote a few lines on it. Alexander leaned over to look at me. "What are you writing?" I then explained. "Don't you think the frequency of the appearance of zombies has been getting higher and higher recently?" I pointed to a zombie in the distance. "It moves very fast, even if its leg is broken and it crawls on the ground with its two hands. Its speed still doesn't decrease. Before, these zombies could only chase humans by smell, but now they can also avoid some potholes." Alexander looked at me with an approving gaze. "You've observed very carefully," but my heart sank heavily. They have evolved. These situations had never occurred in my previous life. Before I died, all the zombies were still very slow. Without time to think, my first reaction was to return to the base and tell the researchers in the Research Institute about this. I tightly grasped Alexander's sleeve, wanting to get in the car with him, but then Alyssa's voice came from behind. "Everyone, do as I say, and there will definitely be no problem." Her tone was very determined. A group of hunters cheered and even took out their weapons, planning to massacre this group of zombies. They didn't notice at all that after the zombies heard their voices, they directly followed the sound and came over. And they were even walking faster and faster. I gritted my teeth, thinking about whether I should save them or not, but Alexander had already put a dialed phone to my ear. "Safe House Research Institute, what's the matter?" I met his gaze and took a deep breath. "The zombie horde has evolved, and there are too many unknown risks. Please recall the hunters." After a short silence on the other end of the phone, a somewhat aged voice answered the phone. "Hello, I'm the director of the Research Institute. My name is Anthony. I've already heard what you just said." "Hello, Director Anthony." I was just about to continue talking about the danger of this matter, but Director Anthony gave me a piece of shocking news. The Research Institute in the Southwest region has already encountered such incidents of zombie evolution and attacks. He paused. "Being scratched by this group of zombies also poses a risk of infection, but we have already developed this vaccine, which can prevent the zombie virus to a certain extent." He wanted to say something more, but I had already hung up the phone. Something was wrong. I raised my head and looked in Alyssa's direction. This was also the first time I had seen so many zombies swarming up in groups. At first, they could still hold their own, but the zombies didn't feel tired, and many people were already exhausted. Alyssa clearly didn't expect things to be so serious, and she backed away in a panic. A zombie charged towards her accurately. Alyssa let out a scream. Before she could dodge, she casually grabbed a person beside her and blocked it in front of her. It was the girl named Sophia. Her arm was scratched by the zombie, and black-green liquid had already flowed out. This was a sign of mutation. Sophia probably couldn't understand either. The good sister she thought of would treat her like this. Alyssa looked around. No one noticed her. She picked up a dagger and directly slashed at Sophia's neck. The way she gritted her teeth, where was the tenderness she had pretended in front of others? Only a furious shout was heard, which forcefully stopped her action. "Stop!" 8. I couldn't hold back anymore. I shook off Alexander's hand that was holding me and rushed up. "What are you doing?" I looked at the dagger in Alyssa's hand and questioned her. "She's been infected. I'm saving everyone's lives," Alyssa said righteously. Sophia had already been so scared that she was crying and trembling all over. "Currently, there is no research to prove that being scratched will also lead to infection. If you wrongly kill her, can you bear the responsibility for this?" I gave Alyssa a fierce glare and snatched the dagger from her hand. "Sophia, don't be afraid. If I have to cut off your arm, but I can ensure that you will survive. Would you be willing?" I tried to make my tone as gentle as possible to soothe her. Sophia just kept shaking her head and crying. Alexander also came over. He was being so serious in front of me for the first time. "Are you sure?" Sophia couldn't make a decision for a long time, but the spread of the virus wouldn't give me any more time. I gritted my teeth and took out alcohol from my backpack that I carried with me and spilled it all on the dagger. My hands didn't stop, and I also replied to Alexander's question. "By the way, I never do things that I'm not sure about. I took out a towel, tied it firmly, and stuffed it into Sophia's mouth. Endure it. With a swing of the knife, it fell. The infected stump was cut off by me. I quickly sprinkled on hemostatic powder and anesthetic to make her feel no pain for the time being. Sophia rolled her eyes and fainted. I wiped the cold sweat off my forehead. When I stood up, many people had already fallen down in front of me. Alyssa was already stunned by my actions. She roared and demanded that I pay with my life for Sophia, but at the moment, I didn't have the time to care about her. As I said just now, I never do things that I'm not sure about. This was true. Everyone thought that my superpower was agility, allowing me to accurately dodge the attacks of the zombies. No one knew that my real superpower was prophecy. At first, I could only predict the action of the next second. Through using it many times and training, I could now predict things that would happen within 3 days. I closed my eyes and tried my best to predict what would happen next in my mind, trying to find the weakness of the zombies, but the roars of the zombies and the screams of humans in my ears still made it impossible for me to concentrate my mental strength. I shook my head irritably, trying to block out these sounds, but the sounds suddenly became quieter. I opened my eyes in confusion and saw Alexander standing in front of me, holding a weapon in his hand. Just focus on thinking, I'm here. He picked up the gun with a silencer, aimed at the zombie, and shot it in the head. At this moment, I also remembered the weaknesses of the zombies, the heart and the head. The sound of the horn gradually became louder. I picked up my weapon and quickly rushed into the zombie horde, killing several zombies in a row. Some people were already stunned and just stared at me blankly. They clearly realized that if they only listened to Alyssa, everyone would die here. Autumn, please, save me. Many people shouted desperately. Alyssa, however, tried to disrupt their vision and still stubbornly claimed that she was reborn and could save them. I didn't have the time to care about her anymore. I'm not a saint. I don't want to waste my mental strength in vain. Today, everyone owes me their lives. After returning to the base, those who were saved by me must go and get the experimental vaccine injection. I frowned and roared towards the back. If you want to live, do as I say. When I woke up again, I was already lying in a hospital bed, and my whole body felt as if it had been run over by a large truck. My mental strength had been exhausted, and I couldn't even remember what had happened before. I let out a sigh, but someone opened the door of the ward. Director Anthony, this is the room. Is she still not awake? The voices of several people talking reached my ears, and I opened my eyes again. Director Anthony, wasn't he the director of the research institute who had talked to me on the phone? After I met his gaze, several people were all taken aback. Director Anthony reacted quickly. He walked up to me rapidly and asked me with a smile, Autumn, is there anywhere else you feel uncomfortable? I shook my head and tried my best to prop myself up on the bed with my hands and sit up. Director Anthony gave a meaningful look, and the others all walked out of the ward, and he also told me what had happened during the extermination of the zombies that day. After I revealed the weakness of the zombies, I rushed into the zombie horde and desperately saved everyone present. With their weakness exploited, the zombies were driven back step by step, but I suddenly fainted. Only I knew what was going on. In a situation where my mental strength was exhausted, my body naturally couldn't hold on for long. Alyssa mixed in with the crowd, rushed towards me, took out a dagger, and tried to kill me, but fortunately, I was saved by Alexander and quickly sent to the base hospital. Director Anthony sighed. She's your own sister from the same mother. How could she be so vicious? I didn't comment. I just stared blankly at the white wall in front of me, feeling that all the care I had once given her had been wasted. Why did Alyssa always want to kill me? The atmosphere in the ward became oppressive. Director Anthony cleared his throat and started a new topic. Because of your promise that day, many people have voluntarily received the vaccine. The clinical trials were very successful. Thank you for everything you've done for humanity. I just gave a faint smile and didn't want to take the credit, but then I heard him change the subject. By the way, it's strange that the young man who brought you to the hospital that day still hasn't been vaccinated. I frowned and thought about it in my mind. Alexander wasn't the kind of person who was afraid of death. He had saved me twice. Just as I was lost in thought, the door of the ward suddenly opened. What came into view was that familiar, cynical face. The clothes on Alexander were covered in dust, obviously because he had walked a long way. He was holding a large bucket of fruit candies in his arms and smiled at me as if showing off his credit. I caught a glimpse of the yellow color wrapped In the plastic paper at a glance, lemon flavor, we looked at each other, and both of us burst out laughing. 10. After being discharged from the hospital, I went to the room where Alyssa was being held. When the guards talked about her, they shook their heads helplessly. Alyssa always talks to herself and refuses to communicate with others. We suspect that there's something wrong with her mental state. Under the instructions of Director Anthony, I successfully entered Alyssa's room. She was sitting on the bed, muttering to the wall. When she caught a glimpse of me from the corner of her eye, the hatred in her eyes suddenly surged. She rushed up and grabbed my wrist. Why, clearly, I've lived 2 lives, yet I still end up like this. I was reborn. I will awaken my superpower, save all of humanity, and make everyone grateful to me. She seemed to be possessed, roaring and constantly asking me why. I just looked at her quietly. When she stopped talking, I said a sentence. Why do you think you're the only one who was reborn? This sentence was like a bolt from the blue, ringing above Alyssa's head. You. She stared at me in shock, her lips trembling, unable to say a word, but she quickly rejected the idea in her mind. Or perhaps she didn't dare to face the truth. It's impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Clearly I'm the chosen one. Only I can save humanity. You're just making up lies to deceive me. Her body went limp, and she collapsed to the ground, her face pale. I just thought she was pitiful. We had experienced so many things in our previous life. Given a chance to start over, she just wanted to follow in my footsteps. She didn't even want to use her brain to think. Alyssa suddenly went crazy. She roared, System, where are you? Come out. Didn't you say that I would save humanity? Didn't you say that I would be placed on a pedestal by everyone? You said that as long as I killed Autumn and tripped Autumn up, everyone in this world would think highly of me. She kept hitting her head against the wall, trying to call out the system in her mind, and I also keenly extracted the key point from her words. Her system had ordered her to kill me, although I already had a system in my previous life. Besides telling me how to use my superpower, the system never said another word to me privately. I always thought that the system couldn't be something that would harm people. Autumn, we'll meet in the next life. Alyssa had gone crazy. She tried to commit suicide, hoping to enter the cycle of rebirth again. I was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and I quickly dodged her figure as she charged towards me. Thud, she hit the wall, blood splattered all over the wall. 11. Today was the day for the second batch of vaccine injections. I stood in the vaccination line and looked around, but still didn't see Alexander's figure. Last time, he missed the vaccination opportunity because he went to find fruit candies for me. This time, he didn't come again. Suddenly, like a flash of inspiration, I seemed to have grasped something. In my previous life, I had never heard of this person named Alexander. Could he be the uncontrollable factor of my rebirth? My shoulder was suddenly patted, and I turned around, just meeting those smiling eyes. Hi. My face immediately turned gloomy, and I gripped the dagger at my waist tightly, asking him coldly, Who are you? Alexander was taken aback for a moment, and the smile on his face gradually widened. You found out. He waved his hand casually, and time was frozen. There wasn't even the sound of breathing around. It was eerily quiet. He walked slowly to the side, pulled over a chair, and sat down. Sure enough, I didn't misjudge you. You still haven't answered my question. Sweat had already broken out on my palms, but I still held the dagger tightly and didn't take a step back. Me? Alexander raised his eyebrows. I'm the creator god of this world. 12. I was the one chosen by Alexander. My system and my superpower were all given to me by him. In my previous life, I was bitten by Alyssa. I would rather drag her to die together than hurt others, but in Alexander's eyes, this was a manifestation of my being a saint. The end of the world doesn't support saints, he said meaningfully. He showed mercy and gave me a second chance to live my life again. At the same time, he also arranged a new identity for Alyssa. He wanted Alyssa to be a stumbling block for me. Alyssa was brainwashed by the so-called system and tried every means to kill me, but I easily resolved it. And Alexander, just by helping me once, was able to make me lower my guard against him. He was overjoyed. You know, on the day you rushed up to save people, I thought I was going to fail again. You're still the same saint. He was referring to the time when I risked my own safety and exhausted my mental strength to save others. You made them exchange their cooperation in the experiment for their lives. I was very surprised. Alexander was looking at me as if I were a flower that he had carefully nurtured himself, and he was very satisfied. No wonder he was so at ease among the zombie horde, never took the initiative to kill, and always stayed away from the crowd. No wonder he tried so hard to stay by my side and form a team with me. It turned out that it was just to make it convenient for him to observe my every move. I just found it ridiculous. How many lives were there in the whole world? How many people would he kill because of a so-called experiment? I took a step back, feeling a surge of anger. The next moment, I would hardly be able to resist stabbing the dagger into his chest, but he burst out laughing. Okay, don't be angry, come with me. Where to? I asked, pretending not to understand. To the sky. There are no messy zombies there, and there are no weak people who need your protection. He sneered at my question, but didn't he know that these zombies were all his doing? The zombies that he found disgusting were the daily lives of us ordinary humans. It might take a lifetime to get out of this situation. I avoided the hand he extended towards me and cast my gaze on the people around. I asked him, what do you see? 13 people, zombies, or the desire to survive of these creatures, but I only see a god who thinks highly of himself and calls himself a god, doing whatever it takes to achieve his goals. Is this what a god is? We're just prey, being played with in your hands. All living things are suffering, and the world is in ruins. Is this what you want to see? I met his gaze neither humbly nor arrogantly. Alexander just sneered. The end of the world doesn't need saints. The people who can survive don't care about the death of humanity at all. Except you. He disdainfully pursed his lips and left 4 words behind. The experiment failed. In his eyes, I, who spoke for humanity, was a saint, but was that really the case? I didn't think I was wrong. I wanted to save all of humanity, and I also wanted to save myself. 14. When I heard these words, I suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Bow, took away my superpower. I was still standing in the vaccination line, moving forward bit by bit with the crowd. My wife is pregnant. A man was chatting happily with the people around him. New life in the end of the world always makes people feel shocked, so it doesn't matter if I'm a bit of a saint. There are always people who care about the current life, including me.